The system streamlines the digital flow of exchange between all the stakeholders, whether it's your vertiport manager, whether it's your air traffic controller, whether it's your eVTOL operator. It gives you that common streamlined flow that allows that digital exchange. So there's full situational awareness for all stakeholders, and there is decision making capability based on real time data.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 416. How can Vertiports help to scale the use of air taxis? For that question, we head to Washington, D.C., to speak with Amit Ganjoo, serial entrepreneur and founder and CEO of ANRA Technologies. ANRA Technologies is an award-winning drone operations and UAS traffic management platform provider based in Washington, D.C. The company's platform is used by multiple commercial and government entities for running and managing commercial drone operations. As advanced air mobility efforts accelerate and the use of air taxis become a reality, vertiport design and operation is of paramount concern, especially when considering scaling up to meet service demands across many cities and regions. ANRA Technologies is at the forefront of this discussion. Their innovative Vertiport Management System integrates disparate data into a single platform to seamlessly manage the integration and operation of a vertiport. Amit has over 20 years of aviation, telecom, and wireless experience in both the federal and the commercial space. He is an engineer, a licensed pilot, following a lifelong passion in aviation, and builds experimental aircrafts. Until December 2016, he acted as the co-chair of the FCC's Technical Advisory Council for 5G and IoT, which included ground and airborne autonomous vehicles. He was the director of engineering and principal architect at Ericsson, providing telecom solutions to commercial customers and the federal government, where he was the recipient of the Athena Award. He was also the founder and CEO of a mobile marketing company, from which he had a successful exit in 2009. Amit is also an adjunct professor at the George Mason University and shares his passion for engineering by teaching at the School of Engineering and volunteers at a local makerspace in the D.C. area. In this episode of the Drone Radio Show, Amit talks about ANRA Technologies' Vertiport Management System and how it will help local communities and AAM providers scale up to meet demand. But before we hear from Amit, I want to stress that your support is the heartbeat of my podcast. Every episode is crafted with you in mind, and your generous donations ensure I can keep delivering the content you love. Whether it's the price of a coffee or a more substantial contribution, every bit helps to defray the cost of production. Donate today and be a vital part of the podcast's continued journey to greatness. And for a limited time, donate $100 or more and receive an official Drone Radio Show coffee mug. To donate, go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And if you can, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and leave a nice review and ratings on iTunes. It really helps improve the podcast ranking among the many thousands of active podcasts today. And by the way, if you have an idea for a story on the use of drone technology, contact me at randy@droneradioshow.com. So let's find out how a Vertiport Management System can help scale advanced air mobility operations with Amit Ganjoo of ANRA Technologies. Let's pick up the interview where I asked Amit to introduce himself.
My name is Amit Ganjoo. I'm the founder and CEO of ANRA Technologies. ANRA Technologies is a company that focuses on airspace and mission management for uncrewed aircraft. And that's how our journey started. But now we have since then graduated from uncrewed aircraft to UXS, so ground and sea assets as well. My personal background is aviation, robotics, and communications. And really excited to talk to you, Randy, today.
Amit, how old is the company?
The company was founded in 2015, fall of 2015, so 8+ years old.
What makes ANRA Technologies stand out from other companies?
We've been around in this industry since this industry was born out of a first research paper that came out of NASA in 2014. So we were one of the first companies to have a Space Act collaborative research agreement with NASA when this whole concept of uncrewed air traffic management and mission management was born. So we, in essence, come at this industry from an inside-out perspective. A lot of people talk about it, talk a good game, but they come at it from an outside-in perspective. We come from the other way around.
We're starting to hear a lot about Vertiport Management Systems. What is a Vertiport Management System?
We announced this system recently, actually in December at the Dubai Air Show when it was unveiled for the first time. But this thing has been in the works for the last year and a half to 2 years. So what a Vertiport Management System is, because a lot of people get fascinated by just the aircraft and the physical infrastructure, because that's something you can touch and feel. And people ignore that there's a whole, when you look at an airplanes today flying into an airport, it's not just the runway and the airport. There's a lot of digital infrastructure that's behind the scenes that is enabling, whether it's air traffic control and others, that is enabling this safe end-to-end operation. Similarly, when we talk about this new form of aviation, electric vertical takeoff and landing, eVTOLs or flying cars or UAM, AM, whatever you call it, all these aircraft are going to have to come in and land at vertiports, take off at vertiports, integrate into the systems that are managing whether it's cargo, passenger flow at the airport, have information such as charging pad availability, landing pad availability, and how do you communicate that as a resource to the aircraft that are coming in? So doing the integration into the air traffic side of it, into the resources at the Vertiport Management System, because the Vertiport Management side, so you have the traffic as the aircraft is in the sky, it's coordinating, whether it's with what you call a U-Space system or a PSU, provider of services of UAM, where you're managing the corridor and the traffic in the corridor and handling the ingress, egress out of the corridors with traditional crewed aviation. But as these aircraft are coming into vertiports or going from vertiports to other places, you need that digital system, digital infrastructure that enabled it. And our Vertiport Management System, in essence, irrespective of what kind of vertiport it is, whether it's a heliport that's getting converted into a vertiport, or it's a greenfield vertiport, or you've decided to convert a ramp at an airport into a vertiport, it brings the whole digital package needed to spin up a vertiport.
How does it compare to what we've been calling a UTM system?
So UTM, when it was designed initially, was designed for very low level VLL airspace, so below 400 feet. But back in the UTM realm, when you're doing this traffic management, it's very volume based. But we soon realized, because we've been doing this since inception, so as we started working on AM, UAM concepts, whether it's in research in North America with NASA, FAA, or in Europe with CESAR and other entities, we soon realized that there's differences in approaches and there are different set of challenges that need to be addressed. So, for example, as you transition to UAM, you look at more trajectory-based operations versus volume-based operations. You have to look at concepts such as merge points along the corridor. You have to look at things like demand capacity balancing, so if I have 5 aircraft coming into landing at my vertiport and my vertiport has only 2 landing pads and 2 charging pads available, obviously, how do I sequence? So then you have to have resource sequencing aspects. So there's a lot of additional complexity that comes into play and a lot of new services that are needed for urban air mobility or advanced air mobility, which has touch points into the airspace integration side as well as the vertiport management side.
Vertiports can be sited in various locations. What information do you need to know about a site to tailor the services to a specific vertiport?
There's going to be a variation, as you mentioned, because in some cases it may be a greenfield, in some cases it may be an existing heliport getting converted. So when we built our Vertiport Management System. We built it as a digital vertiport in a box kind of concept. I'm using that term loosely. So it means it comes with its set of software and maybe set of certain sensors that are needed, which you can put up wherever you're setting up the vertiport, and it enables it. So it has all the common elements that you need to get a basic vertiport operational, but then you have interfaces the VMS or Vertiport Management System enables for integration into any existing services and infrastructure you already have at that location. So for example, you may have existing passenger handling, cargo handling capability that you want to integrate, or you may have existing sensors at that location that need to feed into the system. So it gives you both the options. It gives you the bare bone basic MVP, I should say, or a minimal viable product that you can spin up and launch as a standalone, and then you can integrate into additional things or bring in additional third-party services or offerings that can be integrated into the system.
What sort of integration challenges need to be considered?
So if you look at some of the use cases that are being talked about today is like, hey, someone is going to fly into JFK and then take an eVTOL from JFK to Manhattan. So in that case, the vertipad will be right at the JFK airport somewhere. This is a hypothetical situation, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. So in that case, there's integration, obviously the crew traffic that's happening, but now in that same controlled airspace, you have these eVTOLs taking off from a controlled airspace, then maybe going off into uncontrolled airspace. And we actually did a project with the FAA called UAMD, where we actually did live flights between two California airports. And you can think of it in the concept, you have a corridor, but then maybe at one side, the aircraft takes off from a controlled airport and then transitions into a uncontrolled airspace, goes into a corridor, then comes out at the other end, then goes off into another controlled airport and lands at an airport. So if you're looking at airport to airport kind of connectivity options too. So there's challenges on the integration into the ground-based infrastructure, which would become your vertiport management system in this case, and then also integration into your legacy air traffic management, which would be what we call UTM or UTM ATM integration as well.
How do you bring everything together, the different aircraft and the vertiports, without sacrificing safety or efficiency?
We believe in open standardized systems. So if you look at today, if you look at any airport, you have Boeing aircraft coming in, you have Embraer aircraft coming in, you have Airbus aircraft coming in. These are not different airports. It's the same airport that handles all those things. That is possible because there are standardized way how air traffic control works, how you work with the surface movement on the ground and those kind of things. So we have brought those same concepts into this world as well, having standardized open interfaces. So irrespective, and those interfaces are made available to the operators of the vertiport and even the eVTOL operators, so they can integrate into this standardized system. So it's not like a black box solution.
In what ways can a vertiport management system help to make smart safety and operational decisions?
So you have to look at different things. Safety is an overarching term, and safety can be different aspects. Safety of the airspace, safety of the aircraft, and safety of the surface operations as well. So the system streamlines the digital flow of exchange between all the stakeholders, whether it's your vertiport manager, whether it's your air traffic controller, whether it's your eVTOL operator. It streamlines that, it gives you that common streamlined flow that allows that digital exchange. So there's full situational awareness for all stakeholders, and there is decision-making capability based on real-time data available, whether it's from your demand capacity balancing service, resourcing service, similar to how in the legacy world, maybe you had slot management as aircraft are coming into the airport. So safety is not one thing, it's a collection of these different things that get accounted for safe integration into the national airspace.
As interest in vertiports grow, how do you expect to see them integrated into local city planning decisions?
There's a lot of interest in the AM, UAM, or eVTOL space, urban air mobility space. So a lot of cities are looking to plan, hey, we need to do some planning, how future cities are going to look like, where are we going to put vertiports, or how are we going to repurpose existing infrastructure to enable these vertiports and stuff like that. So capabilities like our VMS and our other advanced simulation capability allow the capability for what we call is a digital twin, where you can run, instead of you actually having an aircraft flying and running real world operations. You can do everything as a digital twin, similar to a video game where you can run different scenarios, what if scenarios, and collect the data and do the analysis, and then base your decisions around city planning, environmental considerations, etc., based on that. So we are already seeing a lot of interest on that from coming from different stakeholders.
For many city planners, advanced air mobility is a new concept. Being able to visualize how a system would operate in a community is really valuable. So digital twin modeling is a great idea.
We are having discussions where, like, just like you, and you come from city planning background, so there are people saying, hey, so if we have a rail station, and typically at a rail train station, you have bus station as well, right? And now all of a sudden you have these eVTOL, urban air mobility, vertiports at the same. So you all of a sudden you to look at the multimodal aspect of things as well, and moving people across different modes of transportation as well. So assimilating some of that is very relevant as well. And we have done some other similar stuff around multimodal, but you're absolutely, there's a lot of work that needs to be done and a lot of tools that need to be provided to enable city planners and other stakeholders to make the right decisions based on the correct information.
How is ANRA Technologies working with others to facilitate the adoption of standards for VMS?
At ANRA, in addition to building technology, we spend a lot of time on the standardization side as well as on the regulatory side, not just in US, internationally as well. So our team is actively engaged in all the Vertiport standards, whether that's around the Vertiport or whether that's AM, UAM standards for airspace integration. So I actually co-chair the ASTM F38 standards. I used to do that for UTM and now for UAM. And then my colleagues are working on the working committees focused on Vertiport and other associated elements that are needed to actually make this a reality. And we're also supporting similar work going on in EuroK and other entities around the globe.
Has there been any resistance to the idea of a Vertiport management system?
It's the need. So it's not like something that we can walk away from. Everyone understands it's needed. And as we start to transition from, you can do a one-off flight, fly one drone, create a TFR, and just fly one eVTOL from point A to point B. But when you're starting to do these things at scale and operationalize and integrate, you need a Vertiport management system. And based on all the conversations we've been having and all the discussions, there's a realization and everyone agrees.
Who are some of the stakeholders that are involved in developing a vertical management system?
This is an ecosystem play. So this is not a black box play. So the example I used of different aircrafts coming into the same airport, similarly, we want to work with different eVTOL manufacturers, different cities, and different kind of operators as well. We are working with a lot of eVTOL manufacturers and city planners, infrastructure folks as companies as well. But the ones that we have publicly announced MOUs are entities such as Navos Air, which was the entity that actually got the first ever Vertiport approval in the state of Virginia at Blackstone. So they're our partners. They work on FAA-approved approaches traditionally for helicopters, and the same concepts they have implemented for eVTOLs and for this Vertiport. So they are our partner. And then we also are engaged with, at the Consumer Electronics Show in January, we were at the Supernal Vertiport where our VMS was showcased in the operations center. So those are some of the things that are publicly out there in the media. But besides that, we are working with a lot of other entities, and we are always looking for new partners to work with because we realize this is a marathon, this is not a sprint, and it is a long way to go, and we all have to work together hand in hand to make this industry really a success.
What's a reasonable timeline for deploying a vertical management system?
So I think we are kind of beyond the point where there's a realization that there's a need. So now we are getting into a point where we need to do pilots, we need to do trials, we need to evaluate, because obviously we have a Vertiport management system, but as we start testing it, more flights, more hours, we'll realize things that need to change, that need to modify, things that don't exist, that additional features that we need to enable. So this system is currently part of some of the research projects in Europe, and it's already in play there. And then in US, we are looking at some projects where this is going to be exercised. We actually exercised it at CES as well, but beyond that, some other engagements as well.
What's next for ANRA Technologies?
For us, we've been on this journey for a while and we're all excited. And, a few years back, if you had talked to me, I would say, hey, we are waiting to see that light at the end of the tunnel. So we are beginning to see that light at the end of the tunnel. We started in the small UAS segment and now we are looking at the eVTOL space. So I think there is light at the end of the tunnel as we look at the small drone space at a global level with U-space regulation falling into place. And we are one of the two entities in the globe currently going through EASA certification. And once we are certified, we can pretty much offer U-space services across Europe. So we are seeing that transition happening towards operationalization in the small UAS segment. And over the next year, so we see more operationalization happening on the small drone segment and more research and innovation experimentation happening in the eVTOL segment. And then post maybe 3 to 4 years, we'll see more operationalization happening in the eVTOL space.
And for my final question, Amit, what message would you like to leave regarding the future of the drone industry?
I think the future of the drone industry is bright. We just have to be patient. And I know that's a cliched statement. Everyone says be patient. But honestly, that's true. Having been there for a while and having the battle scars to prove it, I think the future is bright and we are closer than we think to the finish line.
That's it for episode 416 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Amit Ganjoo of ANRA Technologies. I want to thank Amit for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about ANRA Technologies or want to connect with Amit, check out the webpage at anratechnologies.com. If you like the Drone Radio Show, then please subscribe and share. Write a glowing review on iTunes. And if you're able, donate to keep the podcast going. Go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Goers.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.